Airlock Microgateway 4.1. We released in summer this year 4.0. 4.1 is expected to be released by end of October this year. For those of you who did not take part of the Airlock Microgateway 4.0 webinar, what is Airlock Microgateway? It is a Kubernetes native solution which provides protection for your APIs and web applications. It is Envoy based, so we enriched Envoy with our filters. It runs as a sidecar to your web application in Kubernetes. It lets good users in and keeps the bad stuff out. And we still provide a community edition, which you can use, you can try. You need to fill out a form, and within 1 minute you get your license and you can start with the version. As an overview of Airlock Microgateway 4.1, the bullets, the normal bullets, they were already available in 4.0. The ones in bold, they are new in 4.1. So CNI plugin is new in 4.1, and OpenAPI specification enforcement is also new in 4.1. So I'd like to deep dive into these two features. For all the rest, maybe you should have a look into the 4.0 webinar. So we introduced the CNI plugin. CNI plugin runs outside the pod, so it allows you to run your web application with least privileges. Least privileges because we do not need anymore an init container which requires further permissions. And such a CNI plugin is possible to certify with OpenShift. It's a standard. Istio also introduced this CNI plugin, and it is supported on Kubernetes either with or without Istio, or on OpenShift with or without Istio. OpenAPI specification enforcement. For those of you who know it, this feature from the gateway, this is the configuration in Microgateway with the same functionality. It is possible to configure a JSON schema, an OpenAPI schema in JSON format, and to validate requests and responses. We can do that on path, query parameters, headers, cookies, and also the JSON syntax and objects. Currently not supported are content types other than JSON, multi-part requests, callback definitions, or OpenAPI schema in YAML format. This is a repetition of the webinar 4.0. What kind of benefits you have out of Kubernetes native integration? So you can enforce policies, for example. So if the developer team is configuring their own configuration, you can enforce that only certain settings are allowed in production. Then you can also observe the active configuration quite easily. You can templating the configuration, so you give a template to other teams, and it is declarative, so you have security as code or policy as code. You do have a versioning. If it's stored in Git, you can apply GitOps tools to the settings. Besides that, there are plugins available for your favorite IDE, which allows you to have completion, validation, and tooltips. So it simplifies the configuration task tremendously. Some other changes and features we made in 4.0, we provide a few more metrics to observe the microgateway, what it's doing, and we also adjusted the requests and the limits, also the resource requests and resource limits of our pods. We updated Envoy to the version 1.27, and also we improved our documentation. You will see in the API reference now an example tab where we show how such a configuration could look like. And we have 2 new labs available on Instruct to get familiar with Airlock Microgateway. It is a virtual IT lab. You simply can start it in your browser and go through. There are no requirements except that you have a browser and internet connectivity. There are a few breaking changes. One of them, which is I assume not bad for you, it is more desired, I assume. In 4.0, with the network manager running as init container, the pod required more privileges, as mentioned before. So this solution is now discontinued, the network manager, and we now provide as a replacement the CNI plugin. For you as a customer, that should be a one-to-one replacement. You should not make any see any differences, except that you do not need more privileges. Metrics names have changed to a more descriptive name. So in blue, the prefix envoy underscore, and now in 4.1, the prefix with our solutions name. Envoy has changed during the update we made from the early version to 1.27, has changed the application lock, the connection ID and stream ID, the format, and this is why our lock correlation has also changed. So the lock correlation is used to correlate the locks between the access lock and the application lock. And now in 4.1, we do have 2 keys under the key lock correlation, the connection ID and stream ID, and you will find the same information in the application lock. Small outlook about the next few releases. So the next release, what we have planned is to bring a Helm chart for our solution, to make it possible to run the operator with a replica count higher than 1 and make ARM compatibility, so that you can use the microgateway solution on your MacBook with M1 or M2 chips. So are there any questions about gateway or microgateway? Otherwise, that would be the end of the webinar. I do not have any more to announce here.